Welcome back to the Gospel Sports Truth Podcast. Man, look, it's a whole lot that has happened over the weekend and even up to today. We're going to talk about a lot of it today and a lot of it through the week. Make sure you catch all three shows. Today is the Wednesday weekend recap. Then we'll go into the fantasy football show on Thursday. And then on Friday, the Gospel Sports Truth show. Whew. I guess we're just going to hop right into it. But first, make sure you guys check out the YouTube page. It's at the Gospel STP. Again, that's at the Gospel STP. And if you haven't joined the Facebook group yet and you're a Facebook user, make sure you join the Facebook group. That is the Gospel Sports Truth Facebook group. You'll see that same emblem that you see in the corner of our little rectangles there. You'll see that same emblem. Go ahead and join, and we'll make sure you stay up to date on all the latest and greatest information. With that being said, the Jets lose and win the day after. What a 24-hour time period it has been for the Jets and the Buffalo Bills. I feel like the Jets said, we're going to put okay, for my Spades fans out there, the Jets played the little joker and forgot the big joker was still out there. And the Bills were like, hold my beer. Because as soon as Davante Adams got traded to the Jets and reunited with Aaron Rodgers, lo and behold, the Bills went and got Amari Cooper. So it was like the team that was just a little bit too good to beat. As soon as you made a move that made you slightly better, that I think would have given you the 3 points that you lost by, they went and pulled a trump card, and now they're back ahead of you. How are we feeling about the division? Obviously, it's between the Jets and the Bills at this point. The Bills are 2 games ahead, and they have the head-to-head win. How would I say this? Who got I think both teams got better, but who is the best now after the trades that took place on today? I'm looking at the Bills and the Jets. Vander, what you got for us?
Me personally, I think it's the Jets. I don't think the Davante Adams move is a little joker. It's probably the big joker if you're comparing the two. I mean, you got to understand, Cooper, this is a new system, a new QB.
True.
It's going to be some chemistry things you're working through. Adams is going back to his homeboy. I mean, they've done it before, many times before. The band is back together. I'm pretty sure the locker is right beside his at this point. And also with the Jets' strength being their secondary, it can kind of absorb that Amari Cooper move more than Adams if they was playing head-to-head. You see what I'm saying? So for me, I think this move, definitely the Jets are pushing all the chips in the middle of the table. At this point, they're going all in this year. This is not like a down the road kind of move. This is like we trying it right now.
BK, you feel the same, or do you feel like the Bills with the move that they made stayed ahead since how they were already ahead?
Yeah, so I think both teams won here, right? I think that the Jets definitely got better getting Davante Adams for the reason Vander laid out really well. And it is an all-in move because we don't know how much longer Rodgers is going to play quarterback there, right? I mean, he's pushing 41. So, there's only X amount of time left. The expiration date's near. So this is a move the Jets tried to try to really make hay. I think the Adams move was a better move than the Amari Cooper move. But at the end of the day, I don't think it matters because the Bills are better. Not only are they the better team, but they have the lead. And make no mistake, last night was a big game. The Jets had to have that game because they lost the game. To be honest, I know there's a lot of football left, and I try to not say this, but that division's done. The Bills are the best team by a good distance. They got the best quarterback. They have the best team. They're going to win the division, and that loss was a killer for the Jets. And the thing that sucks for the Jets is they did everything right. I've been complaining about them needing balance. Did you see how much they ran the ball yesterday? They got great contribution on the ground from Hall. They were able to get good run pass balance. Rodgers didn't throw it 702 times, and they played a whole lot better because of it. So, but that was a game they're going to look back and say, God, we needed to have that one.
I'm on the same page as you, BK, as far as the Bills being the better team prior to the two trades, which is why I think at this point the two teams are about equal, because I do believe that the Jets will benefit from Adams a little bit more than the Bills will benefit from Cooper. However, the Bills didn't need a number one wide receiver to beat out the Jets. So at the end of the day, they're only going to see each other one more time. And I don't know that the Jets are going to be able to string together enough wins that they'll get into the playoffs regardless of what happens in the division. I think the way the division is set up, there may end up only being one team out of the division to make the playoffs. And also, we've seen Rodgers and Adams get to the playoffs before and not do very much in the playoffs. So they would still be leaning on the defense as they did in years past when they were together. One other thing that I'm looking at as far as this situation is concerned, I'm looking at the fact that Cook was out and they were still able to run the ball in Buffalo. I mean, I didn't realize they were as deep as they are at running back, but Cook may have some touches taken away from him based on how good Sugar Ray did last night. And then as far as the Jets are concerned, I believe the biggest beneficiary, other than Rodgers, obviously, one of the biggest beneficiaries is going to be Hall, because now that safety can't shoot and pay attention to the running back because he has to pay attention to the wide receiver. This is the second question that I have for you as far as the Jets are concerned. I also saw a little scuttlebutt that said Wilson wants out. And one can only think that if Alan Lazard was getting as much love as he was getting from Rodgers, now that Lazard and Adams are there, the Wilson love is pretty much out the window at this point. I don't think this did anything at all for Wilson. And to Vander's point, I think the Jets did more than put all their chips on the table with this move. I think they alienated their future, and they aren't good enough to win now. So they did a real Jets move and essentially just made it nice for the headlines for the rest of the season. But we don't even know if Rodgers will be back next year, depending on how far they get this year, especially because Adams is there. Because if you can't make it far with your guy, and you and your guy will just be a year older come next year, what are we looking forward to? So do we think that Wilson will still be there? I know they said that Mike Williams is now on the trade block. So it looks like for this year, if anyone is going to be going, it's going to end up being Mike Williams. But Wilson isn't happy, and he was supposed to be the future of that wide receiver position. Do we think this will be a net negative based on looking at future prospects, or they may be able to make a shake this year and it doesn't matter? BK, why don't you start us out with that?
So I'm going to stick with what I said before. Regardless of what the Jets did or didn't do, Aaron Rodgers has won 2 playoff games since 2017. The guy can't win in the playoffs anymore. I don't care what they do. They're still in a loaded AFC. They're still not better than Kansas City. They're still not better than Baltimore. I still don't think they're better than Buffalo. So they're not better than the Texans. So at this point, you're playing for 5th. I don't really see a scenario that I'm going to go back to what I said. I don't think it matters. Rodgers can't play winning football when it matters. He hasn't done it since 2017 in the playoffs. Why would I think this is any different?
Vander?
Well, to answer your question, as far as Wilson, I don't think he want. I mean, this move is a pro and a con. For one, he's not going to get a whopping 22 targets, but he will become the guy that's on the number 2 option. So he's going to get a little easier way to get his love. Get a way out and go where? Because in my opinion, he's not even a number 1 wide receiver. He's the number 1 on the team, but he's not a number 1 in this league. He's a decorated Robin. I don't think he's a Batman. He's not somebody I think that you can have as a number 1 guy and just be the guy. I just think he's good, like a T. Higgins. He's kind of in that lane. So he's more in the T. Higgins tier than in the Jamar Chase tier, if that makes sense. Meaning a guy like T. Higgins can go somewhere and be the number 1, but is he really a number 1? I think he's a better Robin than a Batman. So he should be happy that Adams is there because he can actually do a lot better with less. So he's not going to get all these targets, but his production can be a lot better because he's seeing less coverage and he's on the lesser corner. So that's the way I feel about it. But as far as I think this team can win. I mean, they got 4 losses right now. If you look at his division, they were only 2 games back. The Bills, I don't think they're the better team. I just think Josh Allen is playing decent football. He's not turning the ball over. That's one good thing. But the Dolphins, they got a thing going on. The Patriots. So I really think it's going to come out of these 2 teams. I really think they can get back into this thing and make a run.
Well, the one thing too about Wilson, right? I mean, wasn't it like 2 games ago he had 22 or 23 targets? So I'm pretty sure that Rodgers is still going to be able to find him because notice what I'm saying. I don't think he's the best receiver now that they have Adams, but he's definitely the best route runner they have. Garrett Wilson runs routes better than anybody they have on that roster.
I don't know about that, man.
Most definitely.
Over Devontae Adams?
Absolutely. I think you're overrating Devontae Adams. This is not 4 years ago. It's not 4 years ago.
Yo, Devontae is again, go on YouTube, go anywhere you want to go. Check out any interview, whether it's Keenan Allen, whether it's Tyreek Hill, whether it's Stephon Diggs. Ask them when they ask the question, who's in your top 5? One name is across the board. The boy is amazing. That's what he does. He's not no speedster. He's not no super strong guy bullying people around. He is a savant when it comes to route running. Why would you say this, BK? Come on, man. You tripping. Me and you been good for weeks, and now you tripping.
I'll say this. As far as route running is concerned, I can see both sides of the coin. I don't know that Adams is as good a route runner as he is a run and go get it ball catcher. As far as being a tactician in routes, the difference is this. When Rodgers is throwing the ball, Rodgers is a guy that is capable of going off script. And because Adams knows what to do to still be on script when Rodgers goes off script, which is the same thing that Alan Lazard knows how to do. If we remember when Rodgers was in Green Bay, a lot of the wide receivers that are thriving right now, he basically had no holler for them. He basically thought they were useless because, again, when he went off script, they didn't know where the heck to go. So that's the main thing with Rodgers. When a defender is bearing down on me, I need you to know where to be based on knowing where I'm most likely to attempt to throw the ball. Wilson doesn't know that about Rodgers, which is why Rodgers has more of a rapport, if you will, with Adam Lazard and definitely with Adams than he would with Wilson. As far as simply running the routes the best, Garrett Wilson is a stud. It wouldn't matter who the quarterback is. If you're just looking at the actual route tree, he's a stud. But you can't ever take anything away from Devontae Adams, regardless of what statistical category you're speaking to in the wide receiver world. So I definitely see. I'm going to hedge my bet and say I can see where both of y'all are coming from.
Well, look, I think they're both really good, but I think the bigger issue is it doesn't matter what they do. Rodgers has proven in the last 7 years he can't win when it matters. And look, it's already like the playoffs. Did I watch him throw 3 picks and screw up the game against the Vikings? And Darnold tried to piss that game away, and Rodgers is like, nope, hold my beer. I'm going to be worse. and then yesterday, that was a game the Jets should have won. They outplayed the Bills and lost. Why? Because the Jets find a way to lose games. It's not going to change. You can do whatever you want to do with the roster. They're 2 games back, and now with the breaker, they're 3 back. And look, Adams was the better move for the Jets than Cooper was for the Bills. I don't disagree, but there's a reason why the Jets win total was lower than the Bills coming in, and Devontae Adams doesn't overcome all of that deficiency. You got to be kidding me. That's ridiculous.
I mean, I understand. I don't understand all the Aaron Rodgers slander. The last 7 years. All he's done the last 7 years is won 2 MVPs in those last 7 years.
Great.
That's great for an individual award, but he has to win in the playoff game.
But again, football is the ultimate team sport. It's the only sport that one man cannot win. One man can win almost every other sport, but football is not. So it's the ultimate
mistakes that Rodgers made that ultimately cost his team the game.
But again, it's not always been Rodgers' fault. Again,
I didn't say it's always been his fault.
Just like last night,
been the one to make him overcome either.
Just like last night,
he had to overcome their team.
Last night,
Brady had a whole bunch of people on his team that wasn't good.
Last night, he had to overcome 2 missed field goals by a kicker. He had to overcome some drop balls. He had to overcome a holding call on a touchdown that was called back. And he had to overcome at the end of the game, Mike Williams ran the wrong route. So of course he's gonna get the blame because the quarterback or the coach are going to be the person to get the blame.
Help me understand how he wins an MVP and plays in San Francisco at home. The team his defense doesn't even give up an offensive touchdown and they still can't win. Yeah,
but San Fran is that's his Achilles heel. He's never been able to beat San Fran. That's just what it is.
Playoffs is his Achilles heel. He should just retire.
If he can't beat San Fran, good luck against Kansas City.
Yeah.
Or Baltimore.
He have a better chance against them than San Fran.
The Jets are the best. If in an ideal world, the Jets are the 5th best team in the AFC. They have no chance to be relevant. Good luck.
I don't believe that because one thing about football is
where do you think they rank in the AFC then? If you don't believe that,
I mean, as far as ranking, they could be 5. That's fine, but I know on any given Sunday, any team can win, and this team has the team to win because their defense is legit. So if they can get a little bit of the offense to get back gelling, I did like the way the play calling had looked last night. It was a lot better.
Sure.
Anything is possible because there's no clear cut in the AFC right now. Of course, the Chiefs are the favorite because they're the back-to-back guys, but a lot of people think the Ravens are the better team right now.
The Chiefs are 5-0. What do you mean there's no clear cut?
Again, a lot of people think the Ravens have the best team in the AFC right now.
Right. Okay, so that would make them second. The Chiefs are 5-0. How are they not the clear cut best?
Again, records don't always determine where you rank that. We know that. Circumstance can let you win games, different things. You could lose games on your own.
But track records do. They're not just 5-0. They've been the best team in the AFC.
I think it's more open than people actually think because the Steelers, they always find a way to win. How? I don't know. You still have Houston that has a good team. Of course, again, I agree. I think Kansas City is the favorite because they're the back-to-back coming, champs. But if they run to Cincinnati, they'll lose. It's like they could beat everybody except Joe Burrow. It's kind of funny with football. Like certain people can beat
Cincinnati's already
certain.
taken himself out of the picture, but I agree with that. Like
You see what I'm saying?
everybody has
So,
an Achilles heel. Seems
No,
like.
right,
but here's my thing about Baltimore, right? Am I the only one that watched the Ravens be like Lamar is 1-5 against Reed and the Mahomes. They can't beat them. They have their number. And I know they play them tough, and I know the games have been close and it could easily change. But there's certain games in football where I'm convinced where it's a helmet game. Teams see that uniform and that helmet and they shrivel up. And the Ravens see that Chiefs and Mahomes, and they can't beat them. It doesn't matter. They can't beat them. It doesn't mean they're not good enough to beat them, but invariably they make one or two less plays and they lose.
I think more than anything, like I see where you're coming from with that comment, BK, but I don't think it's the helmet. I think the coach, the better coach, understands what the other coach is going to do before they even do it, so they know how to counteract it, even when the other coach thinks that they're outsmarting what the other team was supposed to do, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And we see this in college in a lot of cases too. It's just some coaches have another coach's number, and as soon as you think you're zigging, they already noticed that was the play that you were about to go to. And it's like, they must be stealing our plays. Like, no, they just know you well, and they've gone up against you enough to know exactly what you're going to do when it gets hot, So when you talk about those, just the helmets, if you will, it's a matter of the team dynamic and the coach dynamic not being able to be overcome is the way I'm looking at it. With that being said, there's another team who the owner, GM, players, and every other dynamic of the team, they can't get out of their own way. Dallas is done, y'all. 47-9. 47. This is the worst part about a loss that bad. Now you about to sit on that L for 2 weeks because you're on a bye. That don't help nobody. At least if you were going to play someone else the next week, you get on the next week. Let's put it out of our mind. Let's prepare for the. You got to sit on that L for 2 weeks. And then Jerry Jones, in his infinite wisdom, comes out today and says, well, we're not going to make any changes. We're good. Good luck with that. At some point, you guys got to realize, until you jump off of the Dallas bandwagon and quit putting as much money in this man's pockets as you have been putting there, the team is going to remain the same. This is a business for Jerry Jones. And guess what? The team that wins the most Super Bowls doesn't make the most money. The Patriots aren't making the most money. They weren't making the most money when they were in that Super Bowl run with Tom Brady. Jerry Jones isn't looking at this as we need to win to put money in my pockets. He's looking at it as, I've won already, and I'm too stubborn to make any changes, whether it be at the GM position, definitely not at the owner position. And I'm always going to hire a coach that I can boss around, because outside of that, if we did win, I couldn't claim that it was because of me. But a 47-9 win should tell you that something should change. And the fact that Jerry Jones has doubled down on the fact that nothing will change tells you all you need to know about the Dallas Cowboys. The NFC East has had about 8 years for someone to take over. And it's sad that Dallas and Philly and even the Giants have sat on their thumb long enough that now, BK, go ahead and start smiling. The best team in the NFC East and the team that has the best long-term prognosis is the Commanders. Why? Because they have offense locked down and they have a defensive head coach. So the moves that they make to make the defense better, they don't have to spend all of their money on defensive players. They can just get guys that Quinn knows he can get the most out of. I'll frame that as being the Bill Belichickian way of coaching. I don't need the best guy. I just need my guy. And when you give them that offense with that defensive approach, and Jerry Jones unwilling to move, and Philly just about ready to hit the reset button, and the Giants running around in circles, I got a feeling, call me crazy, but the Commanders might not only win this division, but be a team to reckon with in the playoffs going forward. Not just this year, but as long as Jalen Daniels can remain healthy. And I'm happy about the fact that he's figured out how to slide and how to run out of bounds. I didn't think he'd be able to figure that out in the course of his rookie year. How are we feeling about the NFC East division, Dallas, and the chances of any of those teams making any hay as far as the playoffs are concerned? BK, I'll start out with you because I know your team is now leading the NFC East.
It's a great time to be a Washington fan. Having Jaden Daniels playing so well on a rookie contract, they're going to be able to pour the next 3 years onto the defense and make them really good. So they have a huge advantage. This year, their schedule's really great. Kind of figured Baltimore would get them, but 4-2. The next 3 games, I think they play the Bears, Panthers, and Giants, which should be another 3 wins. I know the Bears are 4-2, but Washington, I think, is the more polished team. But, on any given day, anyone can win, as Vander said earlier, and that's proven time and time again in the NFL. But if you have your heart set on the playoffs in a division, those are games that you got to get. At least I'll say that. The Cowboys are a mess. Remember, Zay, when we did the show about we went through the divisions and picked the winners, and I said the Cowboys are quietly in rebuilding mode, and no one wants to talk about it. But they didn't spend money in the offseason. They paid Lamb for sure, right? And Dak got his money. But outside of that, where were the signings? The Eagles spent a ton of money. What do the Cowboys do? And I think that matters. The Cowboys are a mess. Their coaching is a mess. Jerry Jones, like you said. The Eagles might fire their coach. McCarthy's safe only because he does whatever Jerry Jones says. Cowboys in a rebuilding mode. I think they're going to have a hard time. I would say if we're handicapping the division, they're the 3rd best team in that division, and only because the Giants are there are they better than that. Vander, what do you think?
I gotta agree. I still think that the Eagles are still the team to beat in this division, only because of the talent. I think Washington is emerging. I don't think they're quite there yet because Quinn hasn't put his guys in place yet. You understand? This is his first year. He's just getting there, getting his feet. I think coming down the road 2 or 3 years from now, it's not going to be close. This team's going to look totally different. I think right now the Eagles still are the favorite due to they just have more talent than Washington does on both sides of the ball. The Cowboys didn't take advantage of their glory years. And what I mean by their glory years is when Zeke was he was younger, and he was the leading rusher. Those are the times they were supposed to pour into the team and make a run for the Super Bowl, because that contract was friendlier at that time. And they spent the money on the wrong pieces. Some of the pieces they spent, not even in town anymore. The Gregory's, and I think Lawrence is gone. There's a couple of guys that was there that's not even there or hurt. That offensive line, they wasted their good years when they used to have the best offensive line in football. Mm-hmm. Those guys are no longer there. So I think they didn't take advantage like you see Philadelphia did. Because Laurie, he's just like, we all in. You know what I'm saying? Before Hurts got paid, that team was loaded. And he just finds a way to keep stacking and stacking more guys. So he's trying. They're swinging for the fences. So you got to applaud them for that. But Jerry just is the type of guy. He's that old man that tell you how it was back in his day. And you know what I'm saying? And that works. And there's a new way of doing things, and he's still like, no, this is how we're going to do it. And it just hasn't quite worked out for him.
To your point, Vander, I think we have a situation in Dallas where the owner is along the same lines as Bill Belichick. What I mean by that is not in greatness, but been stuck in his own pattern, if you will. Except he's the decision maker, so there is no one to say, "Hey, we're going to go a different direction." He's the one that chooses the direction. So good luck with that. He's the owner and the GM, so whatever groceries he buys, the head coach is stuck with making the meal. So I hope you can do something with that, McCarthy. But your legacy is about to be on the line, and you might not get another shot based on the meals that you've been able to produce with the groceries that are lackluster that Jerry's bringing in and telling you that they're creme de la creme. So that's where we are with that. With that being said, there's a team that put up a good bit of points this weekend, have a winning record, and did something that's a little bit befuddling to me. The Pittsburgh Steelers beat Las Vegas 32-13. They're 4-2, which wasn't good enough for the starting quarterback to keep his job. Because as of right now, what I've been seeing is that Russell Wilson is getting the reps with the first team, and he's the one that's set to be the starting quarterback this week. And I'm a little bit confused. Unless you plan on trading Fields, or unless Wilson just did so much better prior to injury that you feel that a team that doesn't normally put up 32 points can do better than that. What are we doing here? Vander, help me understand what your cousin is doing. This happened. Timely move.
I told you. I told you this. I've been telling you this for weeks. This team has been winning. They don't feel like Justin Fields is part of the reason they've been winning these games. And I told you, if once Russell get healthy, they're going to make this move. And we're here. You know what I'm saying? This defense has been, like I say, for some, I don't know how he does it, but you talking about working with less, getting the most out of what you got. This dude's getting every drop. I mean, that rag, he just ringing. He gets every drop out of every season because they haven't have a good quarterback since Big Ben, but not Big Ben last like 2 to 3 years. Those are awful. And he just finds a way to just keep showing up. Like he just keep getting off the ground. He like Rocky versus the Russian. You know what I mean? He just won't stay down. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's funny because I think some of these games they've won due to Fields' running ability. But a lot of these games, they probably could have been better if he was a better passer. I just think they think Russell's a better passer of the ball. He probably fit this Arthur Smith offense a lot better. So we haven't seen George Pickens unlock yet. So maybe this move will unlock George Pickens. I think so. I mean, I'm cool with it. He was bought there to be the starter. So let's not forget that part. Now he's healthy. It should be his job.
I don't disagree. I think Vander hit a home run on that one. I think Wilson was brought there to be the starter. He's the better quarterback. I think the Steelers were winning in spite of Fields versus because of Fields. And let's just not sweep under the rug the most important part. The Steelers keep winning me bets, so thank you for covering another Brett bet.
So let me ask y'all this.
Those BK bucks are real, I'm telling you.
So if you're Las Vegas, do you kick the tires on bringing in? They wanted to bring in Fields prior to the season. Fields chose to go to Pittsburgh. Now that he's been benched, if you're Las Vegas, I honestly think he would be a better quarterback than Aiden O'Connell and Minshew. Do you try to kick the tires on Fields, which is what you were trying to do before the season started, or do you stand pat?
I think you wait for the draft. I think we did seen Mr. Davis and Shador Sanders having a conversation. He was out there in Vegas and he was saying, this may be your next home. You know what I mean? So he likes him. I just think the next quarterback is in college right now, in the dorm room, probably playing PlayStation right now as we speak.
And just so you know,
probably wishing he's not playing with Fields.
So just so y'all know, Mr. Davis has indicated that Brady will be helping them pick their next quarterback.
There you go.
Who was just brought in as an owner, approved as a part owner as of today. So I don't know if he sees the quarterback room differently than Mr. Davis did. That conversation between Sanders and Davis happened prior to today when Brady was brought in, and Brady may look at someone more like himself. But
hold on.
I know you're about to go, Vander. Brady and Sanders have a relationship to where I don't know if you guys remember at the beginning of the season where Brady was basically like Sanders' tutor, if you will, or his instructor, and he was considering himself to be he said a combination. Did he say a combination? Was it Brady and Cam Newton, or it was Brady and somebody? He said he was a combination of.
Well, not only that, he's actually he's a member of TB12.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's and he's the first quarterback, first college athlete to get that endorsement. So Brady has to like this kid to even go that far as giving him an endorsement and saying, yo, I'm stamping this guy, because there's so many quarterbacks out there. You know what I'm saying? And for him to take this guy and say, I want this guy to be one of the brand ambassadors or whatever, I think that says a lot. So, I mean,
do you think they'll lose enough games to be able to get him? Because I saw a report that came out today that said that he may actually be the number one quarterback off the board. I don't know that they'll lose enough games for several of the quarterbacks, teams, in front of them, not to be able to have the first bite at that apple.
Well, the first quarterback don't mean necessarily the first player, right? Because there's some bad teams that already have quarterbacks in place. I think Denver will probably be near the top. They already have their quarterback. So some of these quarterbacks, I think some of these teams already have their quarterback of the future already.
The Patriots and the Jaguars will probably be in front of them.
And the Patriots already have their quarterback. The Jags already have their quarterback. So those guys will take the Travis Hunters of the world.
No, what they'll do is they'll take the best trade. That's what they'll do.
No, they're not going to do that.
Okay.
I mean, they can trade back and
that's
just
what I'm saying.
Draft. Yeah, they'll collect draft picks, but if they're going to pick in the spot, they're not going to just take a quarterback.
No. That's what I'm saying. They'll trade back to another team.
It still works.
So the Raiders would have to be. But then again, where the Raiders would be drafting, that draft pick will probably still be top 5.
Yeah.
I can get a top 5 draft pick and something else from next year for you to go up and get a guy that I didn't want because I already have a quarterback. That kind of works for me too. So I see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at this point, I'll trade Minshew. I'll get on the horn with a Dolphins team, one of these teams, and see if they for like a 6th round, like a late pick, 5th, 6th.
Yeah.
Get him off the books and just go ahead and tank it from here. I mean, just go ahead and lose games because you're not going anywhere. I mean, your best wide receivers go out the building.
I don't think you have to tank it. I think you will organically lose it.
Well, that's what I mean. I don't mean tank it like go out there and try to lose, but your best receiver just went out the door.
And I might be willing to give up Max Crosby because by the time we're going to be good, he's not. Well, so why not get what you can get for him now, which will be his maximum trade value, and have enough ammunition to be able to go up and get your quarterback?
Well, what I was about to say is, with the Aiden Hutchinson injury, Detroit may be on the horn to replace him. And who's better to replace him than him? Crosby.
I would actually be on the horn with the Jets going after Hassan Reddick before Crosby, just because I think it would be a little bit cheaper. The asking price would be cheaper.
No,
There's no way the asking price for Max Crosby is going to be cheaper than Reddick, who doesn't want to be with the Jets.
No, but Reddick want to get paid.
Okay, I get it.
And I mean, I know what I'm getting with Max Crosby. The dual motor never turns off. I mean, could you imagine him and Aiden Hutchinson bookends? That would be insane. Two dudes who, like, if you remember the movie Program.
But could you
remember the movie Program back in the day, the old college football movie?
Absolutely.
They would be like Latimer and Mac. I mean, like,
I just don't know if they'd actually be able to take on that contract in Detroit, because they got a lot of people. They just paid their offensive line. They got to pay the defensive players. They paid golf. Now the fit, absolutely, he would be amazing on. If you think he's good with the Raiders, when you got a coach between Hutch and Crosby, yeah, that works great for football. But I don't know if it would be in the budget. Lastly, for the NFL, before we move on over to college, the Patriots are about to screw up Drake May, and I don't know if it's peer pressure. I don't know if it's the owner now being a little bit more involved because he chose not to be or couldn't be when Bill Belichick was there. But you gain absolutely nothing from putting Drake May in right now.
I disagree.
Tell me what you gain.
He's getting reps. These are cute. This dude just threw more touchdowns than Brissett threw all season in one game. What are you talking about?
That's awesome. And you know what happened? He got sacked about 8 times. He's going to be done. Well,
guess what?
We still don't have an offensive line.
Welcome to the NFL.
No, sir. That's not the way the NFL
want to get hit.
That's the way it works when you're on a team without an offensive line. And you know what happens with Young? You know who he's about to be? He's going to turn into the Sam Darnold before he went through 4 different teams.
The kid looked good. He played with some guts. He actually unlocked some of the wide receivers y'all had this year. You seen Demario Douglas finally look like a wide receiver. You seen Butte.
Demario Douglas looked like a wide receiver last year.
No. Did he look like a wide receiver this year?
We're supposed to lose this year.
No.
That makes Drake May's career even better. What are we talking about?
Hey, stay here. Don't go over there. Did he look like a wide receiver this year?
What part did you miss? We're supposed to lose this year.
No.
That was the whole purpose that Brissett
is this thing on? Is this thing
on?
on?
You know what you said about
this
the Raiders?
thing on?
How you can tank without tanking? That's
is
what
this
Brissett
thing on?
does for you.
Because I don't think you hear me.
Oh, I can hear you. I can definitely hear you. But I don't think you hear me.
Hello.
The whole point of this year, it was stated before the year even started. Drake May's supposed to get a year where he gets to sit and learn football. We didn't have an offensive line before the year started, and we definitely don't have an offensive line once the two best.
That doesn't work for everybody. Ask my boy BK, he knows. That doesn't work for everybody. There's a such thing as called learning on the job. Sometimes you got to learn
on the job next year when we can protect you.
No. Okay, why do you think next year he'd be able to be protected? Hell, they may have a bad offensive line next year. There's no guarantee. It's no guarantee.
Line, we have none. The best 2 offensive linemen have been hurt. What part of that did you miss?
It's not a guarantee that it's going to be good next year.
It's a guarantee that we could put more pieces in front of him next year.
No matter, man. The kid looked good.
I'm not saying he didn't look good. What I'm saying is, what you can make the mistake of making him gun shy and that internal clock speeding up to the point that he ends up being what Sam Darnold was before he got to the Vikings. What several other quarterbacks ended up being that I think could have been a lot better if he didn't throw them to the Wolves to begin their career.
So, Zay, I know you're the resident Patriot expert, but I have to disagree on this.
That's fine. I'll go against both of you. I don't mind. Go ahead.
And here's why, right? So, despite the awful offensive line, he threw 3 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. And there is learning on the job. Remember when Peyton Manning came in the league, how bad he looked when he started, and Troy Aikman went 1-15, and those Cowboys were awful. People will start out really bad, and it works out really good. So, and the fact that he showed that much moxie and had that much success despite their offensive line is bad and they don't have any weapons on offense, he made that team look watchable on offense, and I didn't think that was possible.
Absolutely.
BK, I don't disagree with anything you just said, buddy. But my point is this. Okay, Vander, I'm going to throw this your way. How many years did Aaron Rodgers sit on the bench before he went in the game? Do you think having an opportunity to learn the game prior to going into the game hurt him or help him in his career?
Well, the thing about Aaron Rodgers is he was sitting on the bench behind a Hall of Fame quarterback. Just like Jordan Love was sitting behind a Hall of Fame quarterback.
I don't care who he was sitting behind.
Oh, God.
I don't care why he was sitting behind.
You can't say
My
that.
question was very simple. Did it help him or hurt him?
You can't say that, though. You can't say you don't care when it was what it was. You can't change it. That's what it was. He was brought in to sit. May was brought in to be the starter. He was brought there to be the starter.
If he was brought in to be the starter, then he would have been the starter instead of sitting on the bench.
Brissett was going to be a medium. What's the word I'm looking for to use?
A bridge.
He was a placeholder.
He was a bridge.
Which is exactly what he should have been.
Guess what?
Before the year even started, the head coach said
the jig is up.
That is going to be our guy.
He's
going to be the starter. He's going to play this year unless he gets hurt.
Guess what? The jig is up. The jig is up. His bridge lasted 5 weeks. It is what it is. It wasn't going to be a year. It was a 5-week bridge, and this kid came in and threw more touchdowns than this dude threw all season. He led y'all team in rushing this past week. Just like BK said.
Good. He's going to get himself hurt. Y'all are missing the point.
Not true. You don't know that.
But you can't operate in the realm of being afraid of injury.
Thank you.
I'm not saying operate in the realm of being afraid of injury. What I'm saying, operate in the realm of reality. We have nothing to win. Nothing. Zero.
He's getting experience that's really important that will help drive things moving forward. The more he gets in-game reps now, the quicker that's going to move that timeline ahead and make you guys better quicker.
Right.
How'd that work out for Trevor Lawrence?
He's not good enough.
His pedigree he was supposed to be good enough.
How to work out for CJ Stroud?
CJ Stroud is a different monster. I told you when CJ Stroud came from Oklahoma.
See, this is the thing. You can name a guy. You can name a guy.
OSU that he was already ready.
You can name a guy.
Drake May wasn't ready.
Okay.
Why?
Why do you say that?
Drake, because of how he played.
No. Drake May was one of the. No. Drake May was one of the more NFL ready quarterbacks coming into this last year's draft. What are you talking about?
Not in comparison to CJ Stroud.
No, I'll disagree with that.
You said a specific name, so that's what I was going with.
I disagree.
He already showed the propensity to be able to throw with accuracy without needing a great offensive line to be able to do what he needed to do.
Yo, Drake May did what he did at the University of North Carolina.
Correct. Which is why he needs more time.
Same thing we talked about last week, a non-football school. Your guy did it. Your guy did it surrounded by the top wide receivers in the nation, surrounded by some of the he did it with less. The dude was in his
wait. What is it? What is it that he did? What are you referring to?
It's mean as being shown that he's NFL ready, right? You talking about CJ Stroud did it. I'm saying this dude, he's ready. He's ready to go out the gate.
I don't think you're ready. I don't think you're ready.
He actually he played better than CJ Stroud did. So what about that?
You talking about it being his first game?
Yeah. He played better than CJ Stroud did he not?
If we're talking about a one-game comparison, sure. Let's go that route. But when is one game ever said anything?
So the same guy we said was ready.
It's quarterbacks that only had 1 year in the NFL that had a great game. Hell, Joshua Dobbs had a great game.
Well, guess what?
He's the starting quarterback and ready to run a team.
You play to win the game. These guys want to play.
And we're not ready to win. You're right. You do.
play to win the game. If you played sports you don't want to sit on the bench. If you used to playing, you've been playing in rec league, you've been playing in middle school, you've been playing in high school, you've been playing in college. You don't want to get somewhere and sit on the bench. You want to get out there and be with the guys and contribute. And that's what he's doing.
You have an obligation as the head coach of a football team to play your best player.
There you go.
There's no world we live in that Brissett is a better quarterback than Drake May.
I'm not saying that he is the better quarterback. I'm saying we've all been watching the NFL long enough to know that sometimes the best player isn't the player in the game, and there's numerous reasons for that. We've seen that, especially at the quarterback position, plenty of times.
But you haven't named one.
Haven't named one what? You
haven't named a quarterback who had to sit that was ready. They didn't have somebody that was already a starter, proven already there in front of them.
Well, if you're looking at hindsight and you're only going to call out the guys that got into a game and did well versus the guys that we thought were going to do well coming out of college, that's two different situations.
Again, you name Aaron Rodgers. Like name someone else. Name somebody that sat and watched because somebody wasn't the person in front of them wasn't better than them. Who was that? Who was that kid?
Somebody that repeat the question.
You said Aaron Rodgers. You say Aaron Rodgers gained all these different things by sitting and watching. What quarterback sat and watched? Because due to the fact that the person in front of them wasn't better than them, they had to sit and watch. What guy wasn't ready? Most of these guys
only got in due to Drew Brees being injured.
Is okay, and Bledsoe being injured. Okay,
excuse me, Bledsoe.
But Tom Brady wasn't. Nobody didn't see that coming.
Yeah, Drew Brees got traded because, and actually, that was two different thoughts melted into one. Drew Brees got traded to a whole nother team, and a quarterback started with the Chargers that wasn't as good as him.
No, but they didn't want to pay him due to injury. You forgot Drew Brees got hurt, and they didn't know what he was going to get back in return. So that's what got him traded. I don't want
my quarterback to get hurt because we don't have an offensive line and there's nothing else around him.
Man, you don't go out here and play. He's not China, okay? He's a football player. He's an NFL football player getting paid millions. He is not some fine China, okay? Put the guy in the game. He played well. And this is a good thing moving forward. Like I say, unlock some of those wide receivers y'all had. That wide receiver room, it didn't look like anything before last week. It didn't look like anything.
They went up against a lackluster team.
The Houston Texans. So now the Texans are lackluster.
Houston looked lackluster on defense.
Come on.
Yeah, they did.
Somebody get this guy soda. Get this guy soda.
On defense, they did.
Get this guy soda. So now, now the 5-1. So now
take into account when they scored the points.
So now the 5-1 Texans. So now the 5-1 Texans are lackluster. Okay, you got it.
A good team can play lackluster when they're ahead. We've never seen that in the NFL before. We're putting our best foot forward when the game is already done.
Okay, now they're lackluster. Come on, man.
Did you see when the Patriots did most of their scoring? It wasn't like it was a head-to-head game and then Houston pulled ahead. Houston was already ahead when the Patriots were scoring the majority of their points.
Don't matter. He could have went out there and did nothing.
It don't matter.
He could have went out there and did nothing. They played
to their fullest when they knew they had the game in hand. I got you. Moving on to college. Are we going to keep giving Bama a pass? Or do they finally need to drop now? They lost to an unranked Vanderbilt, and they should have lost to. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Were the Gamecocks unranked? I think the Gamecocks are unranked as well, right?
No, they're unranked.
They should have lost to the Gamecocks as well. A meltdown at the end of that one is what allowed Bama to win. But we still just gonna keep giving them brownie points, or is it time to go ahead and actually let their play on the field outside of the Georgia game actually reflect in their rankings?
Well, there's no such thing as you should have lost. They won. This is the SEC. This is what's going to happen from week to week.
I've seen a lot. See, there you go. That's what I'm talking about right there. It's the SEC. That matters. The team is unranked. If it's a close win, you get brownie points. If it's a loss, you get brownie points. Don't matter.
Oh.
They just lost to an unranked team. We don't drop them. They almost lose to another unranked team. We don't drop them because it's the SEC. Like, stop it, man.
Either you win or you lose. That same
and they lost to Vandy and only fell to spot 6.
Okay. Well, Zay, how far do you want the number 1 team to fall? To 25? Like, they're not going to fall that far.
When you lose to an unranked team, you shouldn't be in the top 10 anymore.
No, it doesn't work like that. As long as college football been going on, any
if the
number 1
guys were number 1 and lost to an unranked team, they wouldn't be in the top 10.
That's not true, because we seen what's that team that App State beat that year? Was it Michigan?
Michigan, yeah.
It's not like they just drop out of the whole poll because they lost to a Division I 2A team. It don't work like that.
They wasn't in the top 10.
So what?
They wasn't in the top 10.
Who, Michigan?
Yeah.
Yes, they was. No, Michigan was a good team that year. What are you talking about?
No. You missing it. What I'm saying is the ranking. The ranking was apropos after losing to an unranked team.
But guess what? They lost to a D1 2A team. That shit, hell, they should have.
I'm just saying they were unranked.
Well, App State was unranked too.
Agreed.
So according to your way, they should just drop all the way out the polls. That's the case.
I didn't say that. I said they shouldn't be top 6.
No, they should be where they at. They lost to a tough. They beat a tough South Carolina team that played LSU to the door. And LSU is not
too tough. They ain't ranked.
So here's what I would say. Right, I think that there are 4 teams that have kind of separated themselves from the others. I think Texas is really good. I think Georgia is really good. I think that Ohio State is really good, although they got badly outplayed in Eugene, and we're lucky that game was even that close. Oregon tried to piss that way a game as much as they could. They cost themselves 10 points just by foolish stuff. And the Ducks, right? Those 4 teams. What I'll say is, everybody has been sustaining losses. Like, look at Tennessee, right? They lose to unranked Arkansas on the road. Then they barely beat Florida, and Florida literally had 4 trips inside the red zone in the first half and scored 3 points. Like, that game should have been done at half, yet they somehow messed up that game. LSU survived. Ole Miss has been shaky. So there's a lot of – Missouri has looked poor. So, there's a lot of teams that are struggling at this point in the season. I think it's fair to say in college football, with the portal and the NIL, there's been a shift where it's kind of like college basketball now with one and dones. There's a parity now that exists where not SEC, but ACC, Big Ten, all these conferences on any given day when you go on the road. Look at Purdue last week. Purdue is garbage, and they stormed back and almost upset Illinois on the road, down 3 touchdowns in the third quarter, right? If you're playing a conference road game, you can get beat. And I hate to say this, and I can't believe I'm going to say this in a sentence, but if you've really watched Vandy this year, they're better than people think. They should have beat Missouri on the road. They beat, much like I told you, they beat Kentucky on the road as a huge double-digit underdog, and they outplayed Alabama at home. Is it wrong to say that we can give Vandy credit for being better than anyone imagined?
Sure. So rank them.
They should be ranked.
Give them credit. I agree with you, BK. If you give them the credit that they deserve, then it would nullify my argument. But as of right now, where Vandy is ranked and where South Carolina is ranked, put it like this. The statement that Vander made a few minutes ago as far as Appalachian State, Michigan was concerned, and Michigan was a great team that year, I could also say, and don't hear what I'm not saying, this is just for comparison's sake. If any given Saturday a team can beat another, maybe Bama isn't as good as we think that they are in their new iteration, and they just looked up against Georgia. Right? How long do we let someone ride on reputation versus what they're doing in the games that we're seeing? They've had one outstanding game, and that was against Georgia, in all honesty, if it wasn't for Beamer, who has to do better, like they were blitz. They had the zero blitz. Even if you only know how to play Madden, you know that you go to the screen pass when you don't have a guy that can pass the ball. What the heck was he doing? That's the other. I mean, like, there's no way that most teams in that position don't get in field goal range and can just kick the field goal. Like, they were literally blitzing everybody, and you're holding on to the ball, hoping that someone downfield gets open, and you didn't even need to get the ball that far downfield to get in field goal range. That's a different topic for a different day. But
so, real quick, I want to jump in on this, though. I want to go back to Alabama specifically, okay? Because that was the lead part of your question.
absolutely.
Last year, they got in the playoff based on reputation, and they played one really impressive game where they beat Georgia in the SEC title game. They lost a game in the regular season to Texas at home where they were outplayed. They got outplayed badly by Auburn, and Auburn somehow found a way to piss that game away. They almost lost to Arkansas at home. I say this to say that Alabama should have had 3 losses last year. Now, give them credit that they got to the playoff. But what I'm saying is we've seen this before from Milroe and this team. This team is gettable in the right situation. At the end of the day, the season has a way of working itself out. There's a reason why you play 12 games. And I still think, despite Alabama's flaws, and there's definitely flaws, they're still a top 12 team. I can't name 12 teams that are more deserving or more talented or better than present-day Bama, even though the last 2 weeks they've been very underwhelming. Can we
I don't
agree?
disagree with you. I just don't think they should be in the top 6 after the last 2 weeks that they played. Top 12, absolutely. Should they make the college playoffs this year? Absolutely. But win your way back into the top 6. I don't think your performance as of the last 2 weeks has said that you're a top 6 team, is all I'm saying. With that being said, Ryan Day is amazing against mediocre schools. He's 2-6 against top 5 teams. I believe his replacement is already in-house. There was no irony in the fact that Chip Kelly was hired on to be the offensive coordinator. And depending on how this year ends up rounding out, I don't know that Ryan Day will still be the head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes come next year. He will definitely land on his feet, and he can go make someone else be great during the regular season. Personally, huge mistakes when it matters the most, and it's now becoming a pattern. How don't you put a bug in the quarterback's ear? Hey, we only got 6 seconds left. You can't hold the ball for 4 seconds and then run for 4 and then run for 2 seconds and then slide and think we can kick the ball. Like, monumental breakdown in that game. You only needed a few yards to at least be able to attempt the field goal. There is no way that a 5th year, I'm not giving all the blame, I'm not putting all the blame on Coach Day, but there's no way that a head coach of his supposed ilk and a 5th year senior shouldn't be able to figure out that I might want to slide around 3 or 4 seconds versus getting down to 1 and hoping for the best. That more than anything grinded my gears. I'll put it that way. BK, I know you're an Ohio State fan. I'll go to you first, and then Vander, you can tell us where we may or may not be wrong.
So I think at the end of the day, no pun intended, that
I see what you did there.
I think at the end of the day, both of Oregon outplayed Ohio State. You know, on this given day, the Ducks were the better team. They had the better game plan. And quite frankly, Oregon outcoached them. Now, don't get me wrong. They tried to, their game plan outcoached Ohio State. And what I mean by that is Dylan Gabriel has been turning the ball over, particularly in the red zone, where Ohio State's really excelled is red zone defense. Now, granted, their level of competition they played prior to this was nothing to get excited about. But I say that to say that Gabriel, you need to put pressure on him and make him be uncomfortable. Was I the only one to watch the game and watch that he could stand back there and eat a sandwich and pick? I mean, he had all day to throw the ball, and I don't understand. I don't understand how you let that happen. Like, so the defensive game plan. If I were to blame anybody, it was the defensive staff and and how they did that. Yes, Coach Day messed up the game management at the end of the last minute, not taking the timeout soon enough, not letting, because if you taken the timeout when you were supposed to after that play and not let 20 seconds run off the clock, then you wouldn't have been in that situation. So game management is game management, but the defensive game plan was terrible. I haven't seen them play so bad on defense since Michigan tore the Buckeyes apart with Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum and all that. When Michigan scored, it seemed like 100 points against him at the shoe.
And that's Coach Day's side of the ball. So the defense didn't perform, and as a head coach, you mismanaged the time clock. That looks like it's a whole bunch more feathers being tipped in the Coach Day cap. It's been the one that should be, not just because you're the captain of the ship, but several of the decisions that were made either prior to the game starting or in the game goes against Coach Day. Vander, did you see it different? Go ahead, BK.
I'm just going to say this. I just want to err against the side of overreacting. I know sports allows us to do that. At the end of the day, it's one game. The Buckeyes
but that's the thing. It's not one game. He does this in all the big games. It's not one game.
But hear me out. The goal for Ohio State this year was title or bust. That's why they went all in NIL and all those things. They have a loaded team. You heard Tressel and Urban Meyer and all these guys say that this is the most talented team the Buckeyes have had. Personally speaking, I don't agree with that. You know why? Because have we forgotten who the quarterback is? I've watched Will Howard play. It seems like 5 years at Kansas State. The guy will have 2 or 3 stinkers. He does it all the time. And yes, he's not used to having this kind of talent. But at the end of the day, if the Buckeyes run the table and they're going to go 11-1 and probably play Oregon again in the Big Ten title game, and they make the playoff, we're going to judge them how they do in the playoff, not what they do in week 5.
Based on what they did against Oregon, do you think that they're going to beat Georgia or Alabama or Texas or whoever else may be in the top teams?
I don't know, because a lot can change in 10 weeks.
Okay. Vander, round us out.
No, I got to agree with BK. I mean, I know you want to put the blame on the quarterback, what he did in the game, but let's give some credit to that Oregon coach by taking advantage of that 12-man on the field loophole that he did. That was extremely key when it came down to the time at the end of the game. And they're actually doing an investigation on that thing now, right now in the middle of the season. And he pretty much said that's what he did. Like, it was intentionally. The 12-man on the field was intentional. It wasn't like, substitution thing. It was like, we did it on purpose. It's very key. That's some
his mouth shut. He might have been able to get away with it again, but now it ain't gonna happen.
Hey, but that's a real big Belichick way of doing things, is bending the rules. You know what I'm saying? That's what he did.
Did Belichick do the same thing? Like that same exact?
No. I take you back some years. You remember it was this thing offensively Bill was doing where he knew that if an offensive line was off the ball, wide receiver was on the line, and it was confusing defenses, and guys would be down the field wide open because so now the whole thing came out of saying who's eligible. They made them stop that in the middle of the season because they did it for like 2 or 3 weeks straight. Yeah. And defenses was losing their mind because they have a wide receiver sprint out and they hike the ball and he run backwards. So he's staying behind the line, and then everybody's looking around before you know it, there's a guy over behind you. It was weird, real weird they was doing it. Can't recall the name of it, but it was some years back. And Bill did it for about 2 weeks, and the NFL say, okay, that's enough. And they stopped him in the middle of the season. But, I mean, kudos to finding a loophole. That's what he did. I agree with BK. I think it's the defense. I mean, you allow this Oregon team to I think James had over 100 yards rushing, averaging 5 yards a carry. Gabriel had a good game. usually you see the difference between the two when it comes to strengths. Ohio State is kind of the only team I feel that's kind of, and even Michigan from years back, it's kind of built SEC-ish. And what I mean by is having those big guys, defensive line, offensive line, and usually they control the line of scrimmage against the faster, speedier Oregon teams who usually have smaller linemen just quick. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't do that. Like, they allowed this team to put up 30 some odd points on them. Sawyer, where were you? Demps, where were you? These great defensive guys, all these All-Americans, they just didn't make any stops. So I'm not going to say it came all the way down to just some 6 seconds at the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though, right? The Buckeyes scored 31 points on the road. That's got to be enough to win. They were up 28-22 through 3, so they obviously were ahead. But think about it. The Ducks botched an extra point that resulted in a 2-point conversion miss. They missed an easy field goal. That's another 3 points. Then they had a 4th down inside the 7 that the guy was wide open in the corner of the end zone and he missed that. That's another 6 points. So, like, the Buckeyes gave up 32 and the Ducks left at least 10 on the field. So my thing is, I kept hearing about how great the defense is. Did it look great? I must have watched a different game because the defense played bad.
Which is to say, Chip Kelly did his job and Ryan Day didn't. That's all I'm saying.
But Ryan Day's an offensive coach who'd been a play caller for the whole time there before this year.
Ryan Day isn't an offensive coach. Ryan Day sucks at calling offense, which is why Chip Kelly was brought in.
I didn't say he was good at it, but that's what he was doing.
So if you aren't good at the side of the ball that you were brought in to take care of, and someone else was brought in to do that part of the job for you, what use are you? I'm just asking.
I don't think, but this is my thing though. Chip Kelly ain't the answer. You talking about in-house? He's not the answer.
Chip Kelly has won big games.
Man,
Ryan Day can't win.
How many championships Chip Kelly won? We don't care about the big games. We don't care about the big games. How many rings he won?
He never had the talent in Oregon that he has right now in Ohio State.
What you mean? Those teams in Oregon were scoring 80 points a game until they played one.
Yes, he made the offense great. He never had the top to bottom team that's in Ohio State right now.
And when he run into these SEC schools, he used to get smacked. He scored 80 points every week, all season long, into the bowl game, and then get smacked.
Kelly's record against top teams versus Ryan Day.
I don't know how many rings he got.
How many rings Ryan Day got?
So I'm just going to say this.
What?
I'm not a fan of
for a decade.
Look, I'm not a fan of Ryan Day at all, but the guy has won a lot of games there. Now, it's obviously a bad look to lose 3 to the team up north and not win 3 straight Big Ten titles and lose, watch that happen. And then it's even worse that team also won the national title last year. But here's my thing. If you get rid of Ryan Day, who are you going to get there to do better than a guy that's
there? I've said it 5 times.
Chip Kelly's not the answer.
Right. Absolutely not. You might as well go ahead and bring Urban Meyer back if that's the case. Then
do that too. I'll take him back too. You know what? That right there is the best comment I've heard you make the entire show. Excuse me, not best, most accurate, because you are 100% spot on. If Urban Meyer came back and was the head coach of this most talent, man, look at here.
Let me tell who y'all. We
wouldn't have lost to Oregon.
So both of y'all are Buckeye fans, right? Right?
Yeah.
Man, y'all need to take it back. Oh, hey, you know me, my favorite, and I'm not a Ohio State fan, but my favorite guy I used to like to see, I want to see the guy with the cut-off sweater with the glasses.
Jim Tressel.
I want to see Tressel on the sideline, okay? That's Ohio State football to me. When I think about Ohio State, his face comes in my mind.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
And who knows what he's doing in life right now somewhere. But
Tressel got fired over some tattoos and some Big Ten rings.
Hey, but see, Tressel the time is now because Tressel was living the NIL back in his days. So the time is
He's already used
now.
to it.
Hey,
He's
the
like, no,
time
I
is
can really
now.
pay the players.
The time is now for him.
And
Please.
that about wraps it up for today. You guys make sure that you check out the Fantasy Football Show on tomorrow. And on Friday, make sure you check out the Gospel Sports Truth flagship show.
Do I need to referee this tomorrow, Zay?
Say again?
Do I need to referee this tomorrow? I feel like I need to be like Luigi or Mario or somebody.
Hey, listen, it's going to be a lot going on in fantasy. We got a lot to talk about in fantasy, from the trades to the waivers to the start sit. It's going to be a lot going on, and a whole lot going on Friday when we approach things from a more philosophical avenue, if you will. And yeah, it's a lot to talk about. Friday, we got to talk about, the Robert Saleh firing, the Russell Westbrook being back in the game, Tom Brady being the new owner, the WNBA update. I mean, listen, if you guys have ever followed the show, this is not the time of the sports season to not listen to a show. Don't miss a show, okay? If it's on the way to work, on your lunch break, if when you go take your 20-minute potty break on company time, you bring your Bluetooth along with you and listen to the show, you do what you got to do to make sure you hear everything we got to say. And that's the truth. And that'll do it for this evening. We out.
Later, y'all.